Oh, the next anime is um Apothecary Diaries.
Oh no.
You decided
Look,
to drop that on us now?
Jeremy, I think you'll like the herbal science part, medical mystery part.
I
And we're
thought
only
about
going to
picking
watch
it, but it looks so boring.
we're only going to watch the first 12 episodes. The first
Okay.
core is 24. I don't want to watch the whole thing. I don't feel like there's much to meat on the bone past just the concept and the initial introduction of the characters.
Okay.
There better be some fan
So just
service.
just 12. There
I know. I hope. I don't think there is,
no.
but
No.
Son of a.
I know, right?
What's the
Even though
point?
2 weeks later. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are recording. This is an anime podcast where every 2 weeks we come together and discuss in a book club style format an anime that we've recently watched. Today we're talking about the first core of the first season of the Apothecary Diaries, and this is all we're doing for this show. So this is our one review of Apothecary Diaries, but it's the first 12 episodes. And to do that, I need the help of my co-host, and they're gonna present to you something to help you understand their taste. So after I introduce them, I'm gonna ask them a question, and then we'll all be ready to go. First off, he's the Emperor's New Groove with his favorite emperor, Jeremy. Jeremy, who's your favorite emperor?
Emperor of the Golden Sun. Is that a thing?
It sounds like a thing. I don't have
Sounds like a
Wikipedia up to
thing.
dispute it. Okay. We also have how Stella got her groove back. It's Jason with his favorite emperor.
Palpatine.
Oh, that's good.
Easy. Too easy.
Yeah.
And my name is Troy. You would think I would go Palpatine, but he's number 2. Number 1, Little Caesars.
Yeah,
Pizza's
that worked too.
Pizza's delicious. It's not, but it's cheap. It's cheap enough. It's the taste to cost at Little
Pizza.
Caesars.
Wait.
Can't be beat.
What?
Pizza,
Why do you always get to break your own rules and I don't?
Pizza.
What are you talking about?
Please enlighten me. How is Little Caesar's an emperor?
Pizza.
He's Caesar and he's little. Caesar was an emperor. And
Caesar
has
was. Little
pizza
Caesar's.
empire.
Let's move on.
Pizza.
Are you upset that my emperor is fictional? Because so was yours.
No. I'm upset
In
that
the
you're
Little
not.
Caesar lore, he was the leader of the Empire of Greece.
Greece?
Is that even true?
Greece. Grease.
Or are you just making that up?
No, they have very greasy pizza.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for.
Mine
Don't
was
pay a
fictional,
lot.
but at least I picked a person. You picked a franchise. So
No, I'm picking the mascot.
but never mind. I'm not gonna argue with you.
Point to Troy. And that's how this show goes. And today we are talking about Apothecary Diaries. This was my choice, but I never go first. So we're going to go to Jason for a non-spoiler review. It just gives you his general thoughts so you can decide if you would like to watch it before we start spoiling anything. Jason, hit us.
If you were to read the synopsis to me, I would say no, I'm not going to watch that. If you were to just show me a couple clips without audio, I'd say the animation is really, really good. But again, not something I'd want to watch. I am so glad that we watched it on the show because I would not have watched it myself, and I am so happy that we did. This was not just a great fictional rendition of ancient China, but it was the who done it and the mysteries that just kind of keep popping up that you don't see coming, because the way this show is originally structured in the first couple episodes, you don't expect it to be a detective show. It's fantastic. The storylines are good, the characters are engaging to where you care about them. And the comedy is there. Even the chibi stuff didn't really bug me at all. I really enjoyed my time with this one. I'm gonna finish this one offline, but if you haven't seen it and this doesn't look good to you on paper, give it a shot. Give it at least a 3-episode watch. Pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeremy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in the same exact boat. I did not think I was gonna like this. This seemed like, oh man, this is a romance-heavy, girly anime, and I'm gonna be bored out of my mind. But it is not really. The humor in it is really good. The characters are just so good. She's snarky and disagreeable, and just so much fun to watch. She's such a pragmatist, and her interactions with pretty much every other character. I can't think of a single character that she had an interaction that I wasn't entertained by. It's just fantastic writing. The setting is really good. It's very interesting. And I love the herbs. I love what they did with the medicine and the treatments, and it was really cool to see that more traditional treatment system. Very, very cool. I was thinking, okay, I wonder if the 3-episode rule is gonna, make me like this, but I didn't need more than 1 episode. I was already hooked.
I chose this having already seen these, but
Sacrilege.
I can tell you the reason I did is my daughter came to me and was like, "Hey, I want you to watch this anime with me." And I looked at it, I'm like, "Well, that'll never be on the podcast. I'll never say that to Jeremy and Jason. This looks definitely out of my wheelhouse." But when you have a adult teenage daughter and she wants to spend time with you, you don't say no because those are fleeting moments now. So yeah, watched this with her and was instantly hooked. And I remember telling her like, "Oh my gosh, look at the romance." She's like, "What romance?" Okay. Anyway, I was super hooked. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I think Jeremy would really like this stuff. The animation's so good. I wanted to get it on the show, and decided it was worth the rage that I could get if it had gone the other way. But I was fine.
Mhm.
It was this or My Hero Academia Vigilantes, and I was like, I don't want to revisit My Hero Academia, so let's do this. Nothing against My Hero Academia. I'm just, I think enough things have been said about it.
And
So
there's a lot
Apothecary
there
Diaries.
too.
Things I do love about it, though, everything that these guys have touched on, especially the look at it's fictional but historical China through
Mhm.
a microscope of a very specific part that lets us get a broader sense of the macro of the world that's going on. Yeah, we're just looking at the rear palace of the emperor, but it's like a organ in the body. It affects everything else around it, and so we're getting senses of, oh, this person's from this region, and so they had to communicate. They were part of trade was important, and how that all kind of just fits together and meshes so well, very realistically. It's a great watch for me. All right, um, I guess that takes us to Tanya's take.
Yes. So Tanya actually really liked it too. It had, I think the only thing that she didn't like was that the setting had so much focus on um the inner palace of the concubines, and then also it kept going back to the brothel. She's not a fan of those two settings, but otherwise, like, she pretty much mirrors everything I was saying about it. Um, it was just a blast to watch. She enjoyed the characters, thought it was really funny, really liked the main character quite a bit.
All right, your guys' thoughts on the opening and closing?
I liked them both. Um, the the opening felt very TV showish, if you will. Same with the music. The visuals were, man, there was definitely budget for animation throughout this entire thing, and the opening is no exception. The ED, I ended up skipping like the first 2 or 3 because that opening line, the visual doesn't change. It's like the same visual throughout throughout it, and it's cute, but the music, like that first line, I was like, oh, it's not really my style of music. But then I was like, okay, I have to watch the whole thing so I can go and review on it. And it just kind of goes into like this, like almost like late 90s, early 2000 pop. And it instantly hooked me after I listened to like more than 10 seconds of it. I was like, actually, I like this. This is pretty good.
Takes me back to my youth.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of the same thing. I thought the intro was better than the outro, but it took a bit for either of them to grow on me. And I think probably the funniest thing. Okay, so one thing about the intro is that I'm not really sure everything in it made sense to me. Maybe I just missed some of the connections, but like having the after image of herself dancing and like embracing herself, I don't really understand the metaphor there, or how that plays into the story that took place. So some of the imagery is lost on me, but it was still beautiful, really well done. And I think the funniest part was at the very end, like we're just seeing the main character throughout the whole intro. And then at the very end, we see like, and there's also a dude. And then it ends. He gets like a second and a half. And we were cracking up about that a lot. The outro was, it was nice, but it was also just really bland. I thought, just because her floating over nice artistically rendered flowers that are like blooming. I think more of the budget was spent on the first intro, on the intro, and so they're like, well, we gotta shave a little bit on the outro.
I'll say I've had the benefit of watching this twice, and I did not get some of this the first time. But initial impression was, man, I love that little flamenco salsa dance she's doing. It's so cool. The beat kicks in. I loved it instantly. But the second time I watched, I got this. You know how a lot of anime openings will have like all the characters flashing on screen?
Mhm.
This anime does the same thing, except for it made them all flowers. All those flowers flashing on the screen represent specific characters. And then the little yellow flower in the forest is obviously her. Then we go into her flamenco dance, and then yeah, she hugs her, whatever that means. But the ending, the flowers she's floating over are the same 4 flowers that represent the 4 concubines that we'll talk about here in a little while. And then in the last part of that ending, the vine becomes all 4 of them mixed together, and that she has opened up their world and has brought them all together, where it said they were opposing and fighting. Thematically, it works really cool, but the opening's much, much better, and it's been added to the playlist. It's a banger. All right. Before we go to our spoiler section, our next anime is... I'm fine. From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman.
Yeah!
We need to establish a new rule on this podcast. If the
Okay.
title is over
Word
5
count?
words long, we're not watching it.
This is your fault, by the way.
Is
Guess
it?
where I learned about this anime?
I would imagine some of the research you do to help make a podcast on a bi-weekly basis.
The video you sent me. So
Yep.
just
Yep.
saying.
Yep.
I didn't watch it.
Which is fine. I don't. It doesn't matter. I'm not getting into that right now.
I was busy in space.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It's just I feel like some of our anime choices could be a little more researched, and maybe as a people who do a podcast, we should be aware of what anime are incoming and outgoing, so we can
Come on,
make
you like
proper
surprises.
choices. Look, for us, we're 3 weeks into the new season, which means the old season just opened up, and he's like, I can't find anything, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
They're still airing.
No, that's summer season. I'm talking. we're 3 weeks into summer, which means now all of spring is available. We've only gone 3 weeks in past spring.
And we've
Everything from
watched most
spring-
of anything that's even relevant.
It's only been 3 weeks. There's no way we could have watched all of those. There's just no way.
Fine.
I don't believe you.
They're either still airing or the stuff we've watched, or it's like rated a 6. I'm not as brave as Jeremy is, so
Just put them all in a bin and draw straws.
right.
All right. Neither here
Random
nor
number
there.
generator.
Uh-huh.
Spoiler warning for the Apothecary Diaries. Again, just the first 12 episodes. Hardly spoiling anything at all. Got plenty of episodes left if we spoil this for you. But yeah, we start back in ancient China, the time of emperors and stuff. I don't know.
Han
this
or
was-
Ming Dynasty, something like that.
Yeah, definitely a dynasty is going on. That's for sure. Actually, and everything is fictional, so I think even the emperor
Yeah.
is a fictional emperor.
They even
But
have
yeah.
like a disclaimer in the show, like this. Nothing on this is
It goes up on
historical.
every episode. Yeah.
And we're instantly introduced to our main character, Mao Mao, who is the daughter of a local apothecary who mostly serves the local brothels of the town. And she's just this little lovable gremlin. And your guys' thoughts on Mao Mao?
You are nearly instantly attached to this character. She's so likable yet so thorny. Just very, very prickly personality, but also very unique. So like one of the early episodes, she's like trying to heal a wound that she caused because she's experimenting on herself.
Yep.
One of my really favorite things about her character in general is that, you know, learning and discovering and the whole medical practice is all consuming to her. So everything else kind of becomes secondary. They're all means to an end. And because of that, she kind of understands some realities of life. And we get a lot of comedy throughout this anime, but like there are some moments where she just drops the hammer in very plain and like you cannot argue with it language. Like there's one moment where she's just like, "Hey, I know I'm a commoner, so you could execute me at all. It's not like if you want to, it's you can." And it's just like, and there's a bunch of these where it's like we're going into mystery or we're going into comedy or a little bit of romance, and then all of a sudden she's just like, by the way, you are murdering this person if you continue doing this. Like, oh, oof. So very fascinating character, and I really like how she's portrayed. So
Yeah. She's clever and she's wise beyond her years. And there's this snarkiness to her that is so endearing. Absolutely love this kind of character. And I don't think I've seen one portrayed quite as well before. Maybe I'd have to think really hard to come up with one. She's consistent, and she's just so pragmatic about every situation. You know, she puts her nose to the grindstone and works if that's what she needs to do in order to get through some kind of a bad situation, and you know, deals with whatever comes her way. I think I mentioned it in the pre-show. One of the things I really liked about her was it was like you were watching Sherlock Holmes if Sherlock Holmes didn't want to do any detective work or to tell you anything about what he'd discovered, and people are forcing him. They're just dragging him to the scene and they're saying, no, you've got to do this, and then you got to explain it. And just watching them have to like essentially pull it out of her or put her in scenarios where she has no choice but to explain what she's seeing, it's really entertaining. So yeah, she's a great character.
I think you just mentioned something that really made me think. Like, she's a strategist because she's constantly thinking this action may cause this, or this, and what's most likely. It's great writing, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of times where we're not even told the answers that she's already come up with, and we don't find it out till way later because she plays things so close to the vest, just because of the ramifications just revealing information can have. Um,
Mhm.
it's just fascinating stuff. Uh, Obviously, I'm a big fan of Mao Mao. I agree with
Meow,
everything you
meow,
guys
meow.
said. Just a really well written character, but I love the little flourishes of there's a bigger than her station personality inside there. So even though she has this, hey, I'm just a servant girl and I need to stay in line, every once in a while she kind of burst out past it where she sees alcohol and she gets so excited.
Mhm.
She grows little cat ears. She hisses at people. um, and that instantly endears you to her even more than the cleverness and the intelligence and all that stuff that comes with her. One thing that this anime does that I think they uses her as a great lens for, kind of but piggybacking on what you guys have already said, is it's looking through this world through a lens that's not vilifying it, but also not romanticizing it. From
Mhm.
my understanding of this time period, someone could be like, "Wait, you don't understand how horrible it was or how great it was." My understanding, from what my impression of this anime is it's like these are some of the brutal facts of this time,
Mhm.
and some of it was horrible. Some of it would have been quite nice in modern times. You can there was goods and bads, but this is what it was. We're just ripping off the bandage and showing you the wound. And I really appreciate that. Again, I'm kind of grasping onto the historical stuff, but that is mostly one of the biggest draws for me on this anime.
I did a little bit of research just to see how close it was, and yeah, just there was a eunuch that got to rule with the power of an emperor basically for a little while, but it was not unusual for eunuchs to get a lot of power, even though they were looked down upon because of the mutilation. And then the concubines, they wouldn't get quite as much power, but it accurately portrayed the ranking and the levels of luxury that they could have in the inner palace. So I think it did a pretty good job based on the research I did.
All right. So we find our character being sent to deliver medicines to the brothel. We see her do a little experiment on her arm before she's sent back home on her way. She gets distracted wanting to pick up herbs that she just sees growing on in the ground.
And
And
her
then
dad
she is
even tells
abducted.
her, "Hey, be careful."
Yeah.
Don't get kidnapped.
Uh, they talk multiple times about how like there's the brothels on one side and then like the sick side of town is right
Syphilitic
there.
walkers on the other
Syphilis,
side.
yeah. Things
Yeah.
are bad. Crime alley, right there. So, yeah, she gets abducted, and then we catch up with her 3 months later. And what happens is these abductors they capture women, they take them to the palace, they sell them off as if they were part of. They're like, hey, this is our daughter or our sister, and so we
Mhm.
own her, and so we can we're giving her to you to work, and then you'll send us her wages. And it's not uncommon. And of course, the palace doesn't look too closely at it. They got a good free worker out of there for a cheap price, and that's her station. And she's working in the laundry. Um, we meet one of her friends during this time, and she overhears rumors, or is told rumors by her friend that the concubines, the four main concubines and a few other mid-level concubines here, but two of the top concubines have both had children from the emperor, and there's no wife, so that is a big deal. One is a prince, though, so that's even a bigger deal, and the other one is a princess. Both have gotten sick at the same time, and there's been a string of infant death of the emperor's children for a little while. She figures out very quickly what it is, but while doing her investigation, she bumps into the manager of the rear palace, Jinshi. So we need to talk about Jinshi, the secondary main protagonist. Your guys' thoughts?
He was a great, um, not antagonist, but just like,
Oil?
yeah, to meow meow. Uh, um, he's he is also uh somewhat of a strategist, but because he's got this natural beauty to him that girls throughout the palace are just continually fawning over, except for Mao Mao, which immediately gets his attention. And at first he's irritated. And then because he's just continually trying to get her attention and like, you're going to fall for me. He falls for her. And it's adorable. But his twist that we'll get to near the end was I felt it was pretty well earned. Kind of saw it coming a little bit, but it like I said, well earned, well written. He's also a well written character because I think one thing this anime does a really good job of is it sets up a problem, and then people don't just have immediate knowledge of the thing. There actually has to be work done to go find the information or to go uncover the mystery. Like there's one order he gives to go find somebody with a burn mark on their arm, and it literally takes them 6 to 7 episodes to find this person. And
2 months of in
It's
world
2 months.
time.
Yeah.
yeah, well earned. So, but he's just not as interesting as Mao Mao, but he's got he's got all the power, he's got all the authority, and his interactions with her are adorable. But also I think one thing I really like is he starts to see her as who she is and starts using her as a detective and trusts her judgment and guidance on things just because she is so intelligent. And also everyone else in the palace starts to do the same, but I think he's one of the first to really see it in her and give her the opportunity to shine.
Yeah. I still don't really know like his personality. I don't know what his real personality is. Everything so far has been him manipulating and basically using his wiles to get whatever he needs. And so there's only a couple of instances where I think they even call it out. His manservant says, oh, you're finally acting like yourself, And so, and we get very, very few rare glimpses of that. So I'm curious how this character's. I'm going to also watch this I'm going to watch it tomorrow with Tanya, and I'm curious how much of him we're going to get to know and who he really is as a character. But the way that they portray him in the first half is complex enough. Like when you first see him, you get the sense that okay, he's a pretty boy that is pretty shallow, but then wait, no, he's actually pretty clever. What's going on here? So you start to realize quickly that there's more to him than it appears, and it actually takes Meow Meow longer to see it, I think, than the audience. but that makes for a more entertaining story too, because then you can be wondering, okay, when is she going to see it? Because you know that this is the eventual relationship that's going to develop.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of self deception on Mao Mao's part about her own feelings that are starting to grow. So
Yeah.
she's like, okay, so this eunuch is being used by men.
Yeah.
Jinchi,
I wonder where he got this hairpin. It must have been some great military general.
uh, as much as I love Mao Mao, to me, Jinchi really makes the show. His cat and mouse with her, except for he's the cat. It doesn't matter. I love the complexity. I love when we see the solemn, almost whiny, spoiled child that he is deep inside. The whole super flirtatious, beautiful man who walks around, but it turns out that's actually a part of the emperor's plan to weed out loyal or unloyal concubines. He's layers just like Mao Mao, and when they butt up against each other, and the way his major advantage of like I am beautiful so I can get whatever I want, and she just revolted by his very touch. Like, oh gross. He's so
Continually
gross.
smacking his hand from her shoulder.
Yep. You're not allowed to touch me, you're a commoner. Commoners don't be the ones who say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I their relationship major selling point, but I like him as a character just on his own. Again, very well written, very well developed. Yeah, give your characters complex layers. Lazarus. and things could happen.
Yes.
Not to name names.
Not to name names.
If you know, you
Um,
know.
So we also see two of the concubines confront each other. The mothers, and the one with the prince slaps the one with the princess because she's assuming this has all been a plot against her. And that might seem far fetched, but we find out this is a world where poison comes in on the regular. Like every single concubine has to have a poison tester, and they like the one of them just got sick 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah.
this could happen. There is a lot of political backstabbing and intrigue happening in just this little tiny rear palace of concubines. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was the white makeup powder that they put on the concubines to make them beautiful is actually poisonous, and it's making both the mother sick and it's killing the babies. Then we meet concubine Gyoku, the one with the princess, and her daughter has been saved while the prince has died. She had gotten a note written on some scrap of dress that warned her, and she had taken it to heart. And even though she had also saved it with the other concubine, she had not believed it, thinking it was a further plot. So only the princess survived. Jinchi is told all this about the scrap, and then he deduces who's the one who discovered it by calling in all the servant girls, writing a note that says "stay here" while telling everyone else to leave. And Mao Mao, being the only one who can read and write, accidentally stays too long, and she gets caught, even though he already had pretty much figured out it was her. And he confronts her.
I love her internal dialogue on this one. She's just like, "Hey, wait. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be staying. Oh, I gotta go."
Yep. Too late.
Just right off the bat, though, showing you how smart both characters are in their own way. Mao Mao, with just hearing the symptoms, has already figured out the why the infants are dying, and here we have Jinchi instantly figuring out who's able to solve it by recognizing that, hey, well, if they wrote on the scrap of servant girl dress, then one of the servant girls can read and write, and I can find them quite easily because that's not common among servant girls. And she had been hiding that fact that she could read and write because she didn't want to get better wages that would get sent to her kidnappers.
Yeah.
She is brought to this concubine. And so I do want to talk about this one because she's one of the main ones. We can talk about the others as we go if you guys want. They get a little less attention, but this is kind of one of the main ones. Currently, the Emperor's favorite, because she has beautiful green eyes. Her name is not Goku, but Gyokuyu.
Yeah.
The way it's said in the dub is like Gyokyo. But
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Goku.
Yeah. She doesn't have black hair and she doesn't make Kamehamehas. Anyways.
She's the gender swapped Goku from all the artwork.
Right. I think one of the things I like about her is she's all of the concubines, I guess except for one, they're a bit worldly in the fact that they kind of understand what's going on. They understand the political drama that's happening before them. And they're trying to keep up a particular appearance. So they're like, I am the nicest of all, yet I'm going to try and backstab you in a roundabout way so you don't find out it's me, and it's going to disadvantage you so that I get to be the Emperor's favorite. Because it's a womanly arms race to get to the Empress.
Yep.
And the heir, creating the heir.
Right.
Because then that child is going to keep you around forever. Moms get to stay in the palace.
Yeah, so having the princess is not nearly as advantageous for Gyoko as it would have been if she had a boy. And what I like about her is she is genuinely kind, but she also loves drama. I love that fact about her because she's just like, she's watching some of the stuff play out between Jinxing and Meow Meow, and she's just like, Yes, there's got to be more.
I
So
can't wait to see his face
I know, right?
when he finds out.
But I think out of all of them, I think she is. No, I think she's probably on par with the other one, but the kindest out of them and uh intelligent. And it's not just because she's drawn, attractively that she's, you know, bimbo, but she's genuinely intelligent and cunning and a really good character.
I thought some of the most interesting parts about her was that she's actually a princess from a foreign land in the West. And so becoming a concubine is actually a step down for a princess because she wasn't immediately made the empress, right? She got assigned to be a concubine, but she's the favorite concubine. Like she's the precious concubine. And so there's really interesting stuff going on with her and how she's like sending regular messages. She's basically spying, sending intel to her family because they're a big merchant family and so they can use that information. That's really cool. I like that there are layers with this character. But yeah, everything else that was great. She has less servants because she doesn't really need more. She's very kind, like we're saying. Yeah, she's a good character.
Yeah, I agree with everything they said. The reason I wanted to bring her up is to kind of talk about how sex is dealt with in this anime. It does okay, there's some definitely jokes in there and some
Mm.
laugh lines and stuff about it, but it it very much clearly focuses on how it is a currency in this world because like Jeremy had said before, we're mostly dealing with the rear palace with the concubines and a little bit with the brothels, and both are portrayed as kind of mirror images of each other. And like we're told about the brothels, girls dream about getting into there. It's a good
Mhm.
life for them, and we very much see that same thing in the rear palace with the concubines. They want to be the emperor's favorite breeding person.
Yeah.
Um, but also there's some hints that it's not just business. Obviously, there's feelings involved, and they all kind of just accept their role here. Again, not romanticizing that or vilifying it, just saying this
Mm.
is how it was then. These women have accepted what the world is. This is the currency they can deal with and create station for themselves in this world. It's
Mhm.
it's fascinating stuff, especially since like all the poison stuff. It's like Game of Thrones up in here.
Yeah, a lot of machinations going
A
on in
lot of
there.
machinations for man. I just got to get pregnant and get an heir on the throne. And then yeah, we find out even layers and layers, and this is not new at all when we get Jinshi's backstory. Um,
Mhm.
but as far as she who will not be called Goku, uh, one of my favorites, not my favorite of the concubines, uh, but just how kind and her loving. The only one who sees Mao Mao and Jinshi for what it really is, because Mao Mao
Mm.
and Jinshi can't. Gao Shun does a little bit, but I think he doesn't want it to be that. Whereas is Goku is like, yes, this is what I needed. He's gonna cry all night because of this. It's good stuff. All right, so Mao Mao is hired as her lady in waiting after she is thanked for saving her child, even though she's like, "Oh, I'm in trouble. They're gonna punish me. I've gone too far. I'm just a lowly servant girl," and ends up with a job. And she finds out that job is being a taste tester, and all the other lady in waitings of this house, this pavilion, are like, "Oh, you poor thing! Look at the scars on your arm. You had the worst job." And Mao Mao's like, "I get to eat poison on the regular. Oh yes!"
Yep.
She, girl loves poison.
Mhm.
They do a test for her, and she's able to identify like, "Hey, you should use a silver cup." And they're like, "Guy, we already knew that, but we wanted to see if you knew that." But she is told the last taste tester still can't feel her fingers.
Hands and feet. Mhm.
Oh, hands and feet. Yep.
Yep.
Um, we get a meeting with her, the head lady in waiting of this pavilion, and she's like, "Hey, with all your skills and stuff, what's going on with you?" And she reveals I was kidnapped here, and so I don't want that pay going to my kidnappers. And this manager is like, "Oops, you broke this vase. We're gonna have to take that out of your wages. In fact, we're gonna have to charge your family. Now, here's your hazard pay for the job you do. That's personally just for you." And Mama ends up actually getting more money that way, and now her kidnappers are screwed out of their deal. And I thought that was just a really cool scene that these
Yeah.
ladies in waitings have each other's back. Like they're a team.
Mhm.
One thing I really appreciated about this is once she becomes this poison taste tester, it wasn't like every other episode. She's like, "Oh, I found poison. Oh, here's another poison." Like
Yeah.
they used that plot point fairly sparingly.
Mhm.
Jinchi arrives with two requests for her. First off is, hey, we have soldiers out at camp. They're getting sick, and they think the local town is poisoning them with food. Mao Mao listens to the symptoms and is like, hey, I bet you the local foliage that is being used as firewood is making the smoke poisonous, and that is what making them sick. And that's all we get out of that. And that's kind of where I'm like, oh, that's not super satisfying that we didn't kind of dive into that. She just heard about it and was like, I know. Moving on.
I
But-
kind of liked it. It was enough for me, just in the sense that, like, when I was watching them prepare their meals, I was like, "Oh, those chopsticks, those are made from branches. That fire, that wood's bad. I know that wood's bad." And so it was actually nice to just hear the vindication of
enough.
that. As like, yeah, that's the reason. But yeah,
The other request, which I much more enjoyed, was he asked her to make a aphrodisiac. So she's brought to the
Which makes
doctor's
super chocolate.
the doctor's office where they have cacao beans, and we also the
Quack.
doctor, the quack,
Yeah.
he's a terrible doctor, but she ends up becoming really good friends with her anyway. But at this point, he's a little hesitant. But yeah, she gets full use of all their ingredients. She's like, oh my god. They get her extra cacao beans, and she makes little chocolate aphrodisiacs. Um, and then she makes some special brownies for herself. And the ladies in waiting get into them and are found in a state of, at least they didn't go all the way, because
Yeah.
they were very effective.
Mhm.
Jinchi doesn't eat one, but pretends like he has, because he's like, I'm gonna seduce this girl. I'm gonna use my powers on her. And every time he tries, she's just like, nope, gross. It literally turns her into a little chibi form that just vibrates and is so grossed out. It's always funny.
Yep.
One thing I appreciated about the way the doctor was drawn, I figured would be like he was going to be like semi evil, and also like
Same.
I thought he was going to be like really aggressive and nasty
Mhm.
to Mao Mao. It kind of made sense. It was never explicitly stated, but because of his station and because of who he was, and because of what happened to the last doctor, I think he's under an immense amount of pressure to never screw up, because he knows the moment he screws up, either he's going to be ostracized and exiled, or he's going to be killed. And I think that kind of plays into a lot of his decisions and actions throughout the show, where he's very hesitant to do some things. Um, and he leans on Mao Mao because of their relationship, and also his trust in her after he gets to know her. It was a good subversion of expectations, because like I said, the way he was drawn, the way he was first acting, I was like, oh, this is going to be a, rival or,
Obstacle of some kind.
obstacle for Mao Mao, but it wasn't. And it was actually a really sweet relationship they had.
Yeah.
It's those little mustache tips, but it's just the tips only. You're like, that's a
evil.
villain mustache.
Yep.
Yeah. The next episode, we get a rumors going around of a ghost woman dancing on the eastern wall, and Jinchi comes to Mao Mao and asks for help, and she does some investigation about sleepwalking, and she goes out with Gao Shun at night to go see if they see it. They do end up seeing this apparition on the wall. And so I want to talk about Gaoshan now because he's also one of my favorite characters. So your guys' thoughts on Gaoshan?
Uh, great character. I like his place. I like he's kind of the straight man to a
Yeah, I
lot
was
of the
gonna say that,
characters in
yeah.
this one. Um, but yeah, again, like all the characters are very intelligent, but they don't write it in a way to where they just know things, but they know how to solve problems, or at least how to approach problems to solve them. Um, and he's definitely that category. Like when he needs to go research something, they show him go to a library, look at books, or he's doing investigations. So I I just kind of like the straight man thing that he's got going on, and like he brings this level of level-headedness to the conversations he's in. So yeah, he's a good character.
Yeah, I also really love it every time he tries to, through body language or expression or hand signs, like try to convey some kind of deterrent or encouragement to Mao Mao during conversations with Jinshi. Because I think the first time it happens, it's really funny because he figures out, oh no, Jinshi likes rejection. Oh no, this is not good. And so he's like trying to send her the signal, no, no, don't reject him like that. Don't do that. And she does it anyway. And it's just every time. So he's another foil to the relationship, really. And it just plays really well. The comedy's great.
Finding out that he raised Jinxie, and it's like, oh, he's Alfred. He he's
Yeah,
the he's the
Butler.
one who knows him best. So when it's like Jeremy pointed out, we don't get a whole lot of real Jinshi. He's constantly putting on a face and performing and not letting people get close. But Gaoshan was there from the beginning for him, and so we get a lot of the insights from him of, oh, he found this new toy. Oh, she's more than just a toy. This is bad. um, he's super great, and I love because when Mao Mao and Jinchi are together, there's a lot of that back and forth and playfulness and cat and mouse. When Gaoshan's there, Mao Mao and him just kind of do the work and solve cases, and I love that
He's like the
their relationship
chaperone.
too. Yeah, well, they just his respect for her, and whereas Jinshi's like, oh, I'm gonna tease her, I'm gonna get her. Gaosha's just like, man, she is smart. Yeah, let's do this. Let's get things fixed. I really liked him. Um, so they find out that the woman dancing on the wall is a mid-level concubine that fell down while dancing for the emperor on her first night, and he's never visited her ever. And so she's being sold off to a decorated soldier,
Gifted, right?
or give it off. Yeah, here's a wife for you from the emperor for your service.
Mhm.
And the entire rear palace is a buzz about this. Oh, poor her! Like what a horrible fate that she's gone through. And when Jinshi comes to Mao Mao for her analysis, she tells a story about a concubine who was going to be bought out, but the price was and blah 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 stuff. And she talks about how the stress led to sleepwalking, and she gives that to him as the explanation. He's like, "Oh, is that all?" And she's like, "Yeah, no, that's totally all." Later, while this girl is being pushed out to her new husband, Gyokyu comes and talks to Meow Meow, and it's like, no, okay, what really happened? And then she's like, okay, there was another concubine, very similar story, except for they did it on purpose to ruin her value so that he would be able to buy her out of her contract at a cheaper price and they could be together. And Mao Mao has figured out that this girl fell dancing on purpose because the soldier she's about to be married to was from her hometown. They were childhood friends. And right when the doors open, the music comes sweeping in, and you've spent 10 seconds with these characters. And man, the emotions hit me, especially the second time. I don't remember if it hit the second time. I was like, oh, that's really well done. Because I don't know who these people are, and I'm really happy for them. I'm so happy they got to be together. I'm a softie, I know.
I loved how, as she went on to explain this scenario there, the whole dancing on the wall was her pretending to be crazy because the emperor might be like, you know, I want to give her away. I want
Yeah.
to taste the goods before I let her go. And she really didn't want that. And because I remember there was one scene where there was like a servant girl outside who saw the apparition dancing, and then the apparition comes up to her and she's got the stereotypical Gary, you know, almost ring smile
hmm
revealed into the hair. And I was like, man, that's not the same. It was the same lady. She was acting crazy. And I love that little extra complexity to the story. It adds so much.
Then we go to episode 4, probably one of my favorite episodes, and also the animation in this episode kicks up a notch. You know, this is not there's no battles. So there's not a lot of reason for Sakuga in this anime. But there's even a shot in this episode where Mamao just picks up a cup of tea and sips it and then puts it down, where I'm like, is that rotoscoped? Because the motion was so fluid and real. There's just a slight difference you can tell of like, hey, yeah, it's not a character who's like, I have animated to go up and down, but like just the real way the arm bends and twists. Like, wow, they really went in on this episode. And that's because it's an important one. The Emperor visits, well, he's visiting Gyoku, but he asks for Mao Mao and he says, hey, go visit, it's, there's two names that are similar. I don't want to mess it up. Li Hua. Concubine Li Hua. This
His
is the one
second
who
favorite.
had his second favorite, the one who had the prince, and the prince died, and she has gotten sick.
And huge tracts of land.
We'll get to
That's
that.
pretty common in this show, yeah.
So, you know, the emperor telling you to do something is basically it's law now. Like you can't fail a task for the emperor. So now Mao Mao has to go and save this concubine's life, and she's put in charge of her meals because she's super sick and not eating. So Mao Mao's like, okay, we're gonna do. I forget what it was. I know it goes to rice water, but or something before that.
Porridge.
Porridge. Yeah, just very
I lo-
basic, easy.
There's multiple scenes in this episode where she's in the kitchen pointing at ingredients for the cooks to cook for her. I love those scenes because she's just like, okay, we gotta try something else. What about this, and this?
Yep.
And every time she brings the meal in, the ladies in waiting are like, "That's not good enough for our lady, the concubine." So we're gonna give her crab. We're gonna give her her favorite foods, and she keeps spitting it back out and throwing up,
Yep.
and Mal was like, "They're gonna kill her. Like this isn't working." And the
Boing,
only reason
boing.
the little
Yeah.
boing boing comedy,
Kicking
of
her
her
out.
getting thrown out, which plays through the whole anime. Anytime Mama's always getting kicked out of places and just bounces on her knees like a little rubber ball. Jinchi eventually shows up and is like, "Hey, ladies, can she give her food for me?" And ladies like, "Oh, Master Jinchi, for anything for you." So she finally gets to get her, and she realizes like, "Oh, she's even sicker than I thought. I need to switch over to rice water." But she notices she still has the white powder on her face. And she's like, wait, why does she still have this? And figures out one of the ladies in waiting who, like, the makeup's the best. And I want her to feel pretty. Her son died. I got to help make her feel good. Hamao goes up to her and just slaps her to the floor, pours the poison powder all over her, and, like, grabs her by the hair. And it's like, you are killing her.
Yeah. Now,
It is.
this was an amazing scene, but this was one thing where Tanya was a little bit annoyed, and I kind of get it, but I don't know. The anime doesn't seem like it wants to be that gritty. Someone does get executed later, but this lady should have been executed for it because it was now knowledge. Jinshu knew that it had already been recalled. People had come to get this makeup out from everybody else because it was a known poison.
And now
She
it's banned.
ignored that. Yeah, it was banned. So having her be arrested, but then come back in to serve this lady felt a little bit too G-rated.
Lenient.
I want to say,
Felt too
like,
lenient.
yeah, it felt too lenient for the time and for how serious everything else was. But at the same time, I hadn't seen that they were going to do any kind of gritty, like, oh yeah, nope, this person's dead, that person's dead. So I was kind of wondering, is this show just going to be kind of like a little bit, the sharp edges are cut off and it's presented in a softer light. But then later someone does die. So now I'm I don't know where I sit with this. I do think she should have been executed.
Same here.
Probably, I put it up to Jinchi is probably softer than the average manager would be, and probably personally did everything he could to keep her from being executed. Whereas in the other one, there's just, like, no, that person had to be executed.
Yeah.
I think the big difference between the two is there was a death involved with one and not the other. Like
Well, the baby.
well, the
But, I
baby,
mean,
but that was
wasn't after. That was before.
after the ban. Concubine didn't die. Okay, let's
Mhm.
punish her, but not murder her.
Yeah.
And there was no intent here. You're right. She clearly should have known. Like, it was made known that this
was an order.
poisonous.
Yeah.
Right, but it wasn't with the intention of making her lady sick. She just
Yeah.
is literally an idiot and is like, no, it'll make her feel good and that'll be better.
Now eat some crab.
But again, I kind of write it off to Jinshi himself is very lenient, whereas I'm sure if this had gone straight to the Emperor, it would have been straight to execution.
Yeah.
But Jinshi loves this scene. Jinshi's like, wow, you know, she could be that scary. And then we just get a montage over the next couple months of Mao Mao nursing this concubine back to health, including, like, you're just burning incense to cover up the smell of sick. Let's wash her. Let's open up the windows. Let's get things clean, and I'm gonna increase how many grains of rice are in the water. Thing, like, we're coming from zero and working her up. Eventually, although Mao Mao's exhausted, nurses her all the way back to health over a long period of time, and Mao Mao doesn't see this because she's passed out, but the now healthy concubine, like, puts her head in her lap and like clearly cares about Mao Mao and thanks her for what she did. And they have this conversation about, yeah, I lost my son, and you could have let me die. And Mao Mao's like, yeah, but you could have not taken the food. You wanted to live. You're the one who made the choice, not me. Really cool, poignant stuff. Good writing. Again, all beautifully animated when it's not even an action-packed scene or anything.
Yeah. There was also just the way that they handled the medical treatment of this was really awesome and very accurate. Um, the fact that, she's trying to detox her from a very strong poison. And she even was like, oh, we just keep filling her up with water. Keep filling her up with water. I know it's going to hurt, but
Right.
got to keep those kidneys cleaning,
Lots
and
of tea to make her pee.
lots of tea. Yeah. And then she's like, yeah, we need to make a sauna, basically, because there's nothing better for getting heavy metals and things like that and poisons out of the system than to get the sauna going. And
Make her
yeah,
sweat.
yeah, exactly. It was so cool to see that.
So at the end of her service, before going back, the this concubine's like, yeah, I'm just a little sad that the Emperor doesn't visit me anymore. I can't compete with how beautiful Gyokyu is. And Mao comes up to her and is like, my concubine sisters gave me this tip. And she just points out, you got big assets. The Emperor will come back. Don't worry. And we're not told what it is, but it doesn't take much of an imagination to figure it out. And then we cut to back at the Jade Pavilion, and Gyokyu's like, oh my God, it's so nice to have had a break for a little bit. So it clearly worked. The Emperor had a good time.
Yep.
Also, back in the aphrodisiacs, when Goku's like, "This will enhance him by 3 times." 3 times? Can we get like a little bit of a weaker one? Good stuff. All right, in the next episode, she's bringing some mushrooms to a doctor. There was wood pallets that a guy disposed burning garbage had thrown in, and the flames erupted in colors, and now his hands have marks on them, burns.
He's cursed.
And he's cursed. So he shows up at the doctor's while Mao Mao's visiting to eat mushrooms. that she found. She was so
So
I
sad.
love how
happy.
I love how after the doctor eats it, she says, "Ha ha, you're an accomplice."
You're an accomplice. And then Gingy finds out. He's like, "I'll take mine steamed."
Uh-huh.
She's like, damn.
Yeah, this guy's like,
No.
Mao Mao's like, "You're not cursed. You just have burns on your hand." And so they discuss the case, Jinshi and her, um, and she explains how like, hey, it's just like fireworks. Different chemicals burn at different colors, and that's so someone had put stuff on these wood pallets probably as a message, and it would have burned anyone who got in touch. So this is where Jinshi asked Gaoshin, "Okay, I need you to find anyone with burns because that will be." We don't know what's going on, but someone's doing something sneaky in our rear palace. So get on that. Um, then the garden party's coming up. Mao Mao tells everyone about hot rocks and makes heat warmers or hand warmers, and
'Cause
then
it's super
everyone
cold.
wants them. Even Jinshi's
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I'll take some. Build me some hand warmers." Um, And then the other ladies in waiting force Meow Meow into a makeover. And we learn Meow Meow has a secret. Her freckles aren't real. They're makeup clay that she puts on her face every single day because that would lower the chance of being abducted for things even more nefarious than being sold off into work.
Mhm.
Um,
It's her
and
deterrent.
Another one of
deterrent.
those another one of those hammers you don't see coming out of that just comes out of nowhere. She's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to get sold into slavery. Basically, it's like, oh
Mhm.
man,
Eh,
I was having a good time a minute ago. It's
well,
like,
Yeah.
it this is okay, so the slap scene is my favorite, and this is tied right up there because Jinshi comes by and he's there
Mm.
to tease Mao Mao, like she's gonna be in a dress, they're gonna have put makeup on her, but he's expecting her normal face, and she turns around and Mao Mao is actually beautiful, but paints freckles, which of course makes her so ugly. Okay, probably wouldn't work, but whatever.
Yeah.
um and he's stunned, and he's like, what happened? That makeup cover up freckles. She's like, no, I took the makeup off. He's like, no, I don't understand. Your freckles are gone, so you've put on makeup. She's like, no, I put freckles on. Tells him why. He's like, that's horrible. She's like, yeah, well, I got abducted here because my freckles had faded. And he's like, oh, like, so it's like bad you're here. and he feels so bad, but he gives her his hairpin. Now, this has a ton of different meanings, but this one is clearly romantic.
Mm.
But Mao Mao does not get it. She's like, "Ow, that hurt. You put it in weird. I don't like this." And he leaves, and then Gyoku's like, "Oh, you got to keep it in. This is important. You got to keep your hairpin." Um, yeah. So hairpins are like a promise for a date, but also a promise for a favor.
I think it's more like a sign of affection.
Yeah. It's
Well,
like
they're
giving her
redeemable.
weird digits. Yeah.
They're also a currency that's redeemable. So I was wondering if it's a way to tag someone as, can I have this one? Like, I want this one from the Emperor's pool. I don't know if that's true, but that's the impression that I got. And it
Because
could be used for just a transactional purpose of like, I want to go visit my family. Will you vouch for me? But it's certainly seemed like it meant a lot more to Jinchi.
Even when she turns that in, he clearly has to the guy that does that. He clearly has expectations of like, no, no, like
Mm.
I'm gonna get a little something, something for it.
Mhm.
And then she's like,
and he
okay, well, I
does.
know I can get you some
Yeah,
something, something.
it's not from
uh,
her.
so yeah, it's transactional, but it does also seem to come with, I'll just call them benefits. I don't know if
Mhm.
romance is even implied. Well, and to be fair, the other concubine gives Mao Mao one
Yeah.
here in a moment. And so yeah, it's clearly just kind of like, I want this.
Yeah, it's almost like a ownership, like accepted ownership, because they have to accept the hairpin too.
Right. But you
So,
can have more than one. It's not like, oh,
mhm,
someone got a hairpin in there. I can't put one in it.
mhm.
Um,
But it does sound like they're vying. Like when he said, "Oh, you picked that one over me." So, and I
yes,
wonder like how
yes.
much of a finality there could have been in that choice, you know? because he seemed absolutely devastated when he found
Right.
out that she picked someone else. So it almost seems like there could have been something far more serious than just a trip.
100%. So the garden party starts. Very interesting. The younger brother of the emperor's table is empty.
Of course it is.
Dun,
And she's
dun,
busy.
dun.
It's great though. There's a scene where Jinchi comes back to the garden party. He opens the curtain and he's right behind that table, and then he closes it again and turns away. And it's just a blink and you miss it. And it's like, you were going back to your seat, weren't you?
Yep. Up to this point, Tanya and I were like, "Is he really a eunuch? I don't know if he's a eunuch. I think he's a eunuch. I don't know. I don't think he's.
I don't
I
think
don't
he
think
is.
he's a eunuch."
I don't think Gao Shun's a eunuch either. I think those two are the only ones not actually eunuchs.
Hmm.
I think he's there just because he's Jinchi's Alfred
Mm-hmm.
and is there just like Jinchi on special allowed.
See, to me, this seems like the most important person for the emperor to not allow access to the concubines of all the people. Your younger brother, I don't
Well,
know.
like they
So
said,
that-
he's the test.
he's
He's to
the
see who's
That's even
he's
worse.
gonna be loyal.
That's even worse. But yeah, so I don't know if that's just a liberty that they're taking, or I didn't actually think to look that up when I was doing research, but yeah, that seems dangerous.
I won't spoil anything, but there's more to it than you think.
Okay.
Ooh. Excited.
I don't even know if it gets revealed in the show. Again, I didn't think this was coming to the podcast, so I do know some things.
Oh, you went to the manga or light novel
Yeah.
or
Yeah. I looked stuff up.
the wiki?
Yeah. Again, not while we watch this, just
No,
Yeah.
before.
yeah, from the way back.
Yeah.
Long ago.
The lady. Okay, so the garden party has a lot going on. There's a lot of drama between the different ladies in waitings. That the rivalries butt their heads. But we're introduced to the other two top ladies in waitings. Lady is Ado. Yeah,
Mhm.
Ado, and Lady Lishu. Lady Lishu is 14 years old. And yes, that's as crazy as it sounds. But we are eventually told she's not touched. She's actually kept
Yeah.
there because but
She's reserved.
she was a concubine for the last emperor, and I don't
At
think we're ever
9
told.
years old.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we're ever told that was special either. I think I worry, and China, shame on you.
Yeah.
This
But,
is ancient China, however. So
I know.
Yeah. I want to believe that she was also just being reserved at that time, but you're right. It never mentions.
Right. But yeah, but the relationship is so complicated in a way that the 14-year-old is the mother-in-law of the oldest of the concubines, Lady Ado, who's 35. And it's only because Li Shu was a concubine of which is basically counts as a wife, so basically counts as a mother-in-law of the new wife, not actual childbearing stuff. Yeah. Then we come to the meal time, and Mao Mao realizes, hey, this is the Emperor's favorite dish, but it's made wrong. And then she notices that Li Shu, the 14-year-old, has the dish you would think Gyokyo would have had. And she's clearly upset about eating it, but she eats it anyway.
I don't think she'd put that together quite yet. I think she just put together that, oh, she doesn't like fish, and her taster is smiling mischievously about that. Like she
Yes, but
planned
she
it.
does. But Mao Mao does point out that I have one with jellyfish in it,
Mhm.
and there's no reason they would have given me jellyfish. They should have given me the fish one because that's the Emperor's favorite, and this is the Emperor's favorite concubine, and she wouldn't have had a special order, and yet she has a fish one. But you're right; she doesn't know exactly that they've been switched. Turns out they've been switched.
Yeah.
Then she tastes the soup, and man, this scene's great.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
is.
the most sensual you've ever seen Mao Mao be. That's what she licks her lips, her face
she's so
flushes.
excited.
She's in
Yeah.
ecstasy, and she's like, "This has been poisoned."
She gets up and runs away.
Gets up and runs away. Now she's clearing her out, and Jinchi runs after her, and he's like, "What is going on?" And she's like, "Oh, it's poison." He's like, "Well, you left so soon. Nobody believed you, and somebody else drank the soup. One of the ministers, and now he's sick." And she's like, "All right, well, I got this thing. It'll help empty out their stomach." He's like, "Okay, well, you have to go to a doctor." She's like, "Nah, I'll be fine. Actually, could I have more of the soup, please?"
She
um,
daydreams about writhing in pain.
Yeah. I have no idea how she could possibly enjoy that. That's insane. Makes for a funny
after
character though.
after being well, look, there's also a romantic scene of, "I've never seen him this way. He's so concerned." And then he forces her to throw up. And then she asks to speak to Lady Lishu. Um, and this is where she finds out she's allergic to the fish. She sees hives that have grown on her arm. Um, and gives instructions to her taste tester on how to help properly. But it's really Mau Mau saying to the taste tester, "I know you let this happen on purpose. I know you messed up. Not the poison, but the fish," because she doesn't think she
Mhm.
poisoned her. But like, get it together, or I'm busting you next time.
Mm-hmm.
Love the way
And
it's drawn
Jinchi,
too.
Yeah, that lady is terrified.
yeah, there was also the other ladies in waitings who didn't realize Mau Mau was at the party because they couldn't see the freckle girl that she pinned to a wall. Was like, "I'll do things to you."
Yeah.
And then whenever Mau Mau sees her, she hides her nose so that she'll look like her old
And
self.
just
in the
shows her
lady.
mouth and like evil smile.
They just run away terrified.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I like that Jinchi's like, something else is going on here. But yes, they figure out that Lady Lishu was the true target of the poison assassination. Mau Mau has dreams about her father. She inspects the poison. She gets the poison soup, and he's like, "You're not going to eat it. This is Gaosha." And she's like, "No, it's no good now." But she shows them this crazy technique where you can dust for fingerprints.
Isn't that
And
in every show? It cracks me up so much.
I liked at least that they weren't like, "Okay, now we just need to get the fingerprints and match them up." It was literally just now we can see how the cup was grasped and draw
That's true.
conclusions from that.
And
Because I was like, no way they're gonna start rolling people's thumbs on.
Yeah.
we have this new invention called Scotch tape. No,
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know this, that you're not supposed to touch where your fingers are not supposed to go where the lips of royalty are supposed to go. And that includes the head concubines. So I like that was the point of that scene. Not that we're doing advanced fingerprint testing, but we're just seeing, okay, someone touched this somewhere they weren't supposed to, meaning there was a nefarious ends to this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That was a cool little tidbit of lore, which I'm sure is probably rooted in reality. Like, that was probably a rule.
I also did mention the former empress, the mother of the emperor, was at the party and getting to hold her grandbaby, the princess.
The
Okay.
dowager. I love that word.
Meow Meow finds out that the hairpins, because she got one from a random guy, she got one from Jinchi, and she got one from Li Hao. There was a fourth one too, wasn't there?
It was the necklace.
Gyokyo.
Gyoku's necklace, yeah. She finds out they can be used as a currency that she could use to be taken out of the palace. So she goes to this guy named Lee Haku, and he is just so bummed out when she calls him. Because again, she has the freckles now, and he's like, "Oh,
Did I give one to
okay.
you?
Did I give
Yeah.
one to you?"
It looks so different without makeup.
This is kind of gross. And she's like, "No, take me out, and I'll write you a letter of introduction to this brothel." And now the brothel that Mau
Apparently
Mau
super famous.
knows best is it's the best brothel. It's where the three princesses live. And after seeing them drawn, yeah, I get it. Probably should be famous.
They're all bards, basically.
Yeah, offers him a introduction to these to this brothel. So he takes her, and they meet the old lady of the brothel who instantly hits Mau Mau, and they take the guy, and she's like, "Yeah, but he didn't have enough money, so now you owe me debt." Uh, but Mau Mau gets to go see her father and spend time with him, and she goes to go home. And then Jinchi finds out that Mau Mau's gone with a guy from the hairpins, and he is devastated. Just a
Just
little
some
sulky
rando.
baby.
Just some rando scooped her up.
Yeah, it wasn't the guy he was doing
I think it
swords
was.
Okay.
I thought it was.
Their names are similar, and I keep looking at them and like, did I write it wrong? Are they the same guy? But
Because
let's just say it is.
they emphasized his brawn in the battle, and then
His
he
weak
was
strength.
emphasizing it again. He's like, "Oh, I'm very strong, but I'm not really smart." I
That's
was
true.
like, I don't know. Seems like it's him.
While at home, like the next day, there's a murder suicide at one of the brothels. Really cool mystery about like, okay, the guy was sicker than the woman and he stopped breathing. Mau Mau saves them both. Then a little girl tries to stab the guy. And it turns out this guy goes to brothels, wins women over, and is like, I'm going to totally buy you. And then on the day of the thing, he's like, nope, I'm out. And then he goes to another brothel and does it again and again, has ruined women's lives because they're like, oh, I'm going to get married. Oh, nope, back to work. So they poisoned him with tobacco, which just not something you would think of as a poison. I know it is, but it's just I was like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Also,
Apparently, when you boil it, it concentrates the nicotine so much that it just can seize your lungs up.
we get to see Mau Mau's father look at the crime scene, and he doesn't jump to as much conjecture as she does. He keeps it more pure. And he even has to remind her, like, yeah, are you remembering this? And she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, I did forget that. And he even tells her, don't speak out your conjecture, just keep that to yourself, which she has been doing this whole time. The entire thing with Jinchi is like, okay, she keeps saying this is just conjecture, but this is what I think happened, and she's always right so far. But it's interesting that her father's like, yeah, that's a terrible habit. You should not do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she basically finds out that this brothel tried to murder this guy for being a jerk, and then nothing comes of it. She just leaves. She even like, I wonder how, like, who else was in on it, and then we never find out. Now, based on how all the other mysteries have been long lasting and come back around, I wouldn't be surprised if this shows up again further down the story. But I did find it a little bit like, wait, maybe the dad was in on it and stuff, but we never find out anything. The guy had one of the not concubines, the consorts at the brothel love strong young men, and apparently racked up quite the charge for Mau Mau, which doesn't seem fair to me, but
Yeah.
brothels.
Yeah.
And
What you
then
gonna do?
she returns, and Jinchi's like, I need to talk to you. What happened? And she's like, no, I just, was fulfilling a duty. He's like, why didn't you ask me? She's like, I didn't want to bother you. And she's like, and you repaid him? She's like, oh, I repaid him. He got great dreams. And Jinchi's reaction, the way he just goes comatose, spills his tea, and she's like, I got to clean you up. He just can't move. It's all chibi. Probably not Jason's favorite scene, but man, it makes me laugh.
It was a pretty funny scene. I enjoyed it.
He does finally find out eventually that she didn't sleep with him, but yeah, Jinchi's world was destroyed at that moment. We see this man drinking with a bunch of soldiers, and he eventually dies from the drinks. And this ends up being someone Jinchi knew from his childhood, who taught him. And he brings the mystery to Mau Mau. She gets to taste the booze, and she notes that it's very sweet, but in the bottle that he had been drinking from, there's a lot of crystallized salt. And she comes to the conclusion that this man who used to love salty and spicy food started eating only sweets at a certain point, and it's because he lost the ability to taste salt due to stress after his family died. his wife and child died, and while he had been drinking, he'd been pissing off the younger guys around him, and they had been pranking him by throwing salt into his drink. Again, this is all just conjecture on her part, but they've been pranking him, and since he wasn't noticing, they kept throwing salt in, and they just dehydrated him and killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find a dead body, woman drowned in the moat, and this is just an amazing scene. The doctor's like, "Ooh, Mao, I don't want to do the autopsy. Can you do it?" And she's like, "I am forbidden from touching dead bodies." And she's like, "Wait, what?" And we see Mao's dad go, "Look, the human body has lots of useful ingredients, and I don't want you to ever use any of them because you'll never stop. So
You'll start
taking
digging up corpses.
You must never touch a dead body." She's like, "Okay."
Everyone
And the
around her is
best
like,
part-
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Jinji and Gaoshan in the background being like, yeah, nope, I see that. So they talk about this death, her evaluation based on like the fingers and the hands, and it is that this woman had been murdered, but it is eventually ruled as a suicide. And the case is closed. But we learn Gaoshan has found someone with burns on them 2 months after being asked, and it is Fang Ming, who we don't know yet, but we're about to meet Fang Ming. I think it's amazing that they already knew it was Fang Ming, and they send in Mao anyway to do more investigation. Really manipulative.
And they didn't tell her either.
Nope, they're just like, "Hey, just go work in this area, see what happens." And but like, because from that earlier scene, we know that they already had figured out that she was part of it. All right, so this gets a little complicated. So correct me if I'm wrong. Li Shu, the 14-year-old concubine, visits Yoku. They have tea, but she gets upset because there's honey, and the food taster, again, doesn't do anything. So Mao says the tea is poison so that she won't have to drink the honey. And then she gets asked to go work for Lady Aduo. And while they're doing a bunch of cleaning, and she meets Feng Ming, who's the head lady in waiting. And all the ladies in waiting there are very nice. Everyone's super sweet, but they're working very hard to clean out the place. And Mao realizes that's because Aduo has been asked to leave. She's 35 years old. She cannot bear children anymore. She no longer gets to be a top concubine. She's out of the palace. They also, Feng Ming has a large honey thing because her family grows it. They're
An
honey farm.
apiary.
Yeah, they have an apiary. Keep this together. This gets a little convoluted.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a great mystery, and it all fits together. She also sees Li Shu and her food tester sneaking through this area of Aduo's pavilion. She eventually teams up with Gaoshan, has him do some research, and they find out information about Aduo's child. She had been giving birth to the current emperor, who was not emperor at the time, his son. But at the same time, the then emperor had been giving birth to the current emperor's brother. And the doctor, who was Mao's dad, had been forced to go serve the empress. And a little while later, Aduo's child had died, and she had gone into a depression. Mao figures out the answer, and she goes and confronts Feng Ming and says, "What really happened was that you were taking care of the baby because your concubine was very sad, struggling. So you were helping a lot, and you were giving it honey. And Lady Li Shu had almost died as a baby due to honey, and she had told you that, and you knew she would eventually tell Otto that, so you had decided to kill her because it was actually your honey that killed the baby, and you didn't ever want the concubine to find out because you loved her so much, and you just couldn't handle the guilt of what you had done."
And it
So-
was accidental. Like, she didn't find out from Li Shu that honey could kill a
Right.
baby until
Years
way after
later.
the fact.
But also, it's double reasons though. It's not just to
Mhm.
cover up her guilt. It's also if there's one less concubine, then there's less competition, and Ottawa will get to stay.
Mhm.
So it was a double. And we learned Lady Lishu loves Lady Otto, and we thought they were rivals, but it's actually they actually grown like a paternal mother-daughter relationship,
Mhm.
and that's why Lishu was sneaking around. She's always trying to get to see her old friend, but had been kicked out by Fang Ming, who's trying to keep her away to keep that information about the honey gone.
I
Mhm.
love that the scene keeps like panning to a knife and like a cleaver in the background.
And then later, the fact that she had actually prepared for that eventuality by wrapping herself with hard
And
paper.
Mao Mao had brought armor.
He was ready.
But yeah, Fang Ming confesses, and Mao Mao strikes a deal with her that's like, "Hey, we'll keep the baby thing a secret, but you'll have to go down for the murder. You're gonna get executed anyway, but we don't
Mhm.
have to let Ottawa know what actually happened." Now,
Mhm.
the girl in the moat was actually a suicide, but she had at some point found out about what had to happen with Fang Ming and had committed suicide to frame herself as the culprit of the poison to keep the scandal as far away from Ottawa as possible. Because it's like if a soldier does something bad, that's bad on the soldier. If a top general does something bad, then that looks really bad for the entire organization. And then if like
Mhm.
the president does something really bad, then everything's screwed. So it's keep the scandal as far away from the top as possible is why she committed suicide, as best as I understand it, and as my daughter explained it to me, because I had to ask.
Yeah, I do think that the anime could have done a better job explaining that. It was very foggy for me. Um,
Especially because she came to the conclusion, like, oh, look at the facts, it's a murder. And then it's like, it turned out it wasn't. Not even close.
well, it was like an assisted suicide. Like she was partially asleep, but her fingers were still from scrabbling up the wall. Her wing, because
Mm-hmm.
they even said later, like there were no wounds on her, and I was like, but that's not true. You guys talked about her fingers. Her fingers were red from trying to climb up the walls.
Might have changed her mind when she hit the water.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
By
But
the
this
way,
does make sense.
it doesn't address it, yeah.
Yeah.
After this, Mao Mao, who can get up on the wall now because she found the steps that the lady who was dancing on the wall used, um, goes up there and she meets Lady Otto, who comes up there and drinks at night sometimes. Um, and she's up there drinking and talks about, yeah, me and the Emperor were friends, and then, or the guy who will become Emperor were friends, and then that thing happened. I lost his child, and then he kind of pushed me back into an old role. He kept me on as a concubine all this time and I didn't even really want to be, but I stayed anyway. And she mentions how ever since her child left her, instead of child died, and Mama's like, that's odd.
Mhm.
Um, then when Mama's coming back down after having some alcohol, she runs into Jitnchi, who's super drunk. Also, someone had been giving him alcohol. It's the same person.
Yeah.
And there's this great scene where she bumps into him and he grabs her and hugs her, but then he keeps holding on and he starts crying and he's like, "Hey, I'm really cold. Can I just hug you for a little bit? Don't go." And she's like, "What is going on here?" But she lets him and then eventually leaves. And then in the morning, Lady Otto is going through her ceremony of returning the crown back, giving up her position, and Mao Mao notices, wait, her and Jinchi look identical. And it's because after the birth, realizing that her son would not be properly cared for, Otto switched the babies with the Empress. So
That's a
what?
capital offense.
That's a capital offense. So Jinchi is not the Emperor's brother. Jinchi is the Emperor's son. Um, And so what Jinchi was sad about is his mother is leaving. He knows that his mother is leaving him, and then we get this, also Lishu runs out and she gets to see her, and then yeah, Otoo leaves. The final episode is due to these events. Everyone who's had business dealings with Feng Ming's family is now screwed, and that includes a group of bandits who had abducted Mao Mao. So, and they're firing off a bunch of people that this group had brought to the rear palace, and
Basically, large
Jinshi
layoffs.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it
going
is
through
layoff.
layoffs. And Jinshi finds out that Mao Mao's part of it, and then he's like, "What do I do? You know, she shouldn't be here. This is horrible what happened to her, but I want her here, and I could hide this. I can do whatever I want. I'm the manager." Um, and then she finds out, and she's like, "Oh no, I might get laid off, and I can't pay back my debt to the brothel. And I really like my life here
And
for
she's
now."
convinced the brothel manager's gonna sell her into slavery.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she.
Turn her into a
I
courtisan with paying customers.
I
Yep.
don't think the old lady would, but it's definitely implied that she's not completely against it.
Yeah.
I think the old lady's more caring than she lets on, but I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this beautiful scene of Mao Mao running around the entire rear palace, searching for Jinshi, trying to so she can convince him to let her stay. They meet each other, and she's like, "Okay, well, I can't ask to stay. It's not my position." So she's like, "Hey, whatever you want, dude. I'm just a lowly commoner." And he's like, "Oh, she's so kind. I need to let her go." He
Yeah, she
fires
really
her.
doesn't want to be here.
And then so he's moping, and she's now having to work at the brothel, but she just works as a waiting girl. Um, but we see them all hired for this private party. I'm pretty sure this is Gao Shun manipulating events to make Jinshi feel better. I think he pulled the party off. But we also get to see the three concubines and sing. That was cool.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, Mao Mao as a waitress sees this guy moping in the dark, and she goes, and it turns out to be Jinshi, and they end up having a conversation of like, "Well, you wanted to leave. I didn't want to leave. Wait, you wanted to stay?" And then he keeps reaching for her. She's like, "No, there's no touching. No touching. First rule of strip clubs, no touching." Uh, and he's like, "Oh, come on, just a little touch." And she's like, "Fine, like one little touch." And he puts his finger to her lips and then does an indirect kiss with her lipstick. And she's all embarrassed. And then she can't remember anything that happened after that. And a couple days, well, we get this like, "Oh, what should I do? Should I stay at the brothel? Should I go back to the rear palace? One cage versus one cage. What do I do?" And then Jinshi shows up and buys out her contract and gives her golden cricket legs.
No. They were cordyceps mushrooms grown from caterpillar heads.
That works. Yep. I'm just
And-
describing how they were animated.
Oh, okay.
Right. And one thing that keeps going through her head is like, in the rear palace, I get to do all the apothecary stuff I love. And here, I'm going to have to take customers, and that's not great. So,
Yep.
Also, a whole lot of Jinshi in those pleasant memories. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he was there quite a bit.
All right. So I think one big takeaway before we go to final reviews is there's just not a whole lot to talk about here because it's just really good presentation, but there's not. Anyway, that's why we're not going further. There's just it's really good. It's awesome, and other than just giving it a thumbs up, there's not much else we could do here. So with that said, I think we go to final reviews.
yeah, like I said at the beginning, this came out of left field for me as far as things I thought I would not like ended up turning into all the things I do like. This felt like watching Mushishi or Columbo or any other like detective style show with some funny romance and some great character building. So I wouldn't have given this a chance. I'm so glad that you brought it to the anime. I'm gonna give it a 4. I had a really good time with this one.
Snarky characters are my favorite, and she was fantastic as a snarky character. Such a good job. Setting's great. I personally absolutely love the lore, whether it's real or not, of
Okay.
herbalism.
Jeremy, we get like 5 YouTube views of video
Ugh,
right now,
look at
so
this.
Please,
Look at
please
this.
describe what you're
This is-
holding up to the camera.
You know what's really
This
funny is
so cool.
you always scold me about this, and then finally Jeremy does it. I'm so happy right now.
You know,
He's
I
doing
don't
it more,
care.
and he's not
Like,
even telling
Look at
us.
this.
He's holding up books about herbs and flowers.
Okay, so the first book is called Herbalist Primer, and it's from Hunter's Entertainment, and it is a fantastic RPG accessory that basically goes through all kinds of different herbs, and it gives you medicinal lore, and it kind of blurs the line between what is real and what is fantasy, and I love that. But I've also studied a lot of like real world uses throughout history of different kinds of herbs. So just bringing it back to the anime, just seeing the way that they did this and portrayed it, it's not done a lot in anime. And so when it does happen, I am all on board. That is just, I love it. So yeah, this is a 5 for me.
I don't know if anyone saw the twist of your herbal book being a role playing book.
Yes, it's a
like,
role-playing book.
you've shown it to me before, and now I remember that you talking about that. But also, if we're ever role playing, I don't care. Just say red potion heals, blue potion nanas.
No, you must know what herbs were made. This potion was made from. Was it from baneberry and why?
That should tell you Jeremy's taste. Who cares what emperor you picked? There we go. That is the biggest difference between me and Jeremy.
Yes.
But also, he's way smarter and knows way more. So what do I do? I know the difference between red and blue.
Sometimes the simplicity is more elegant.
All right. Is it my review? It's my review.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 5.
Yes.
I really like it. All the things I said about history and characters, all that's true. The biggest thing I think that I love about this anime is I haven't ever seen anything like it. Yeah, I've seen romance, I've seen all this stuff. Just the way this is presented, it's something unique, it's something different, it's interesting. It's not just giant robots or an isekai. And I love not the isekai, but I love giant robots. It's fine. But man, I love something original I've never seen before, and just seeing people present something in this medium in a new way, going into details with the flowers representing different characters. It's all so cool. So
And the
yeah, 5 for me.
Title's only 2 words.
And the title it's only 2 words plus the.
See, that makes me really want to like go through all the titles and all the scores that we've done on the podcast and just like
Make
get
a correlation.
averages. Yeah, like is it consistent?
I'll put money down that Jason averages more words per title than
Okay.
both of us.
Now
I'd
do
agree
this.
with that.
Almost
have to
for
do this.
sure. All right. 5 for me. Our next anime. Hold on, let me get a big breath. From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. This isn't even one of your longest titles. This is a
No.
shorter title for you, but it's still
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah,
Not nearly as long as the talker one.
that's true.
I know. All right. We'll be talking about that next. If you have thoughts on the Apothecary Diaries, don't spoil anything for these guys until they've finished. Probably by the time you've heard this, I think they will have finished. So you're probably safe. Anyway, let us know on our website, theanimebakaclub.com. Hit the contact us button on our Twitter page at Baka Podcast or YouTube, wherever you found this.
You are so
Maybe
good at
click
this.
I've done it 218 times.
Just too much sake tonight.
Saki it to me, baby. We should be done. Let's be done. I'm done. Let's say goodbye.
It's late.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Sayonara.